Welcome in, y'all. Cowboy Cowboy here. Today we're going to be going over this beautiful title right here, the build that I used to achieve this. Big shout out to Pure Blonde Rage, MG Cookie, and Numira. Those are the three people that I ran that with. And it was actually our first Unchained for 3 of the 4 players in our group, which is pretty cool. It was a prog, you know, we worked on it for a little bit. It's very, very cool to get that with not like a carry group, I think. So, anyways, guys, let's go ahead and go over it. Now, it's not perfect. It's not even pretty, but it's functional. It got the job done, and I'll be telling you guys, like, what I have versus what you should run in the future. Yeah. Anyways, I went with the Thief. The reason I took the Thief, guys, is I am under, even with, like, a crit pot, I'm under 50% crit because we're not daggers, we are a 2H axe. So we need all that crit chance that we can get because crit is king. That's why we Thief. Now let's go ahead and talk about gear really quick. Oh, and health. Let me bring this up. You guys want about 25k health is what I feel pretty comfortable. You can do it like 22 to 25, but I like the more health you can get, especially because I'm low CP. If you guys are also low CP doing this, you're missing out on a lot of defensive passives that make you a little tankier, just a little stuff. But those percentages, especially like what you're lacking in skill points, they add up. So, yeah, a little cushier on the HP than most, but it definitely saved. Well, I didn't save my life in that run, but it saved my life in the past. So, anyways, these are kind of the stats that you want to shoot for. Now, anyways, let's go ahead and get into gear, guys. Now, Deadly, Deadly is a really good pick for us. Buffs most of our skills. The only thing it doesn't really affect is Brawler and Power of the Light, I believe. It might affect Power of the Light's like second tick, but the first tick is definitely direct damage. But it's really good because it buffs our Jesus Beam, the Execute. Radiant Destruction, which is really one of the big things that Templar, I feel like, brings to the table is their execute power. And executes are very important in this fight because the longer it goes on and the closer to execute the boss gets, the more hectic these fights tend to get. With like the Archer tames the Beast Master, he summons Hajimoto and Wasamu, and so we're just trying to burn really quick, right? We were skipping those mechanics, we were not killing those minis, we were letting them enrage, and we were just executing the boss. So stuff to buff that, huge. Deadly, 10 out of 10 recommend. Null Arca is the other set I had, and it got the job done. It was better than the Order's Wrath that I was using. I didn't enjoy. Order's Wrath is actually a really good set. I slept on that for a long time, but this is good. I would change it up though, and I'll show you guys what I want to change it up to after I show you guys the weapons. Now, Divine's everything. I have infused chest, legs, and head. I take these because I like having a little bit more max. I would eventually gold these out. It'll give you a whole lot more. Oh, it's purple. That's why it's 21. I was tripping out why this one was 17 versus 21. That makes sense. Anyways, gold these out, give you a whole lot more resources, and you can put the tri-stat enchants on. You won't have to put so many points into health. It'll help you maintain your health, magic, and stam. All very good. But I don't do tri-stat on anything else. Just do your stamina on everything else. Ignore why they'll say Magicka. I'm embarrassed right now. I re-rolled the Magplar for a little bit. I just swapped those. But anyways, Bloodthirsty Jewelry, weapon damage, enchants all around. Our sustain is really good, guys. We use Repentance. I'll tell you more about that when we get into the skills, why we take those. But our sustain's not an issue. Now, you do take the Master's Perfected Battle Axe. You want a precise one because our crit is lacking. The axe specifically because it gives crit damage. Very nice to have with our crit build. And it gives penetration. You want the Perfected. You can get by without it. I did many a run in here without it. But the penetration from the Perfected is really nice because we are in 7 medium right now, which means we're lacking on that. And then lastly, we have a Maelstrom Ice Staff. You could do this with a Lightning. You could do this with a Fire. I prefer the Ice, which we'll talk more about why in the skills. Now let me quickly show you guys what I would run. I would actually not run either of these sets. Deadly's still really good, but if I could swap it out, for the trial set, and when I say a trial set, I mean something that provides minor slayer on the 3-piece. I would run Perfected, or even if you don't have Perfected, just regular, Solzon's Torment. This is going to give us weapon damage, which is really good for Templars because Templars get really high scaling on weapon damage, and it gives us crit, which is really important because in PvE, crit is king. Crit is the most important thing, and we're really lacking it. And then the 5-piece here, whenever an enemy you recently damaged dies, they leave behind a Vengeful Soul for 6 seconds. You can only create a Vengeful Soul at a time. Touching the soul increases your crit chance by 2,084. That's not even gold, by the way. And your critical damage by 12%. Now, this is really, really, really good. Now, we would lose the damage proc that we currently have, but we would get so much pin, we could probably actually go over to the Shadow over the Thief, and that would just boost our damage through the roof on top of everything else. This is why I really recommend this set. And the other one I recommend is Pillar of Nirn, and I'm sure many people seeing this probably hate me for recommending it. I don't recommend Pillar for like boss parsing, but I do recommend it for in here because there's so much extra stuff, and Pillar is a really strong proc. It is a really good proc, but not just that, guys. Pillar, it's an AoE, and so it works for both trash pools and bossing and multi-bossing, like on Arena 4 or Stage 4, what do you want to call it? Arena 4, when you have to fight all the bosses at once. You're able to, when they stack up, you're cleaving them with your proc set. Whereas if you had a Rally, it's going to do about the same amount of damage, but only to one boss. So, and you got to worry about the uptimes on that. You don't have to really worry about the uptimes with this. It's going to proc when it procs, and it doesn't when it doesn't. So yeah. Anyways, Pillar of Nirn and Solzon's Torment are my recommendations. Now, I've also done this, guys. The deadly Null Arca. I was pulling about the same amount of DPS with Hundings and Orders, so it's not even like you could do this in a crafted setup if you needed to. The most important part, I think, is having this Master's Battle Axe and the Perfected Ice, which is pretty nice. Anyways, let's go ahead, now that we've addressed all that, talk about skills. So this is my front bar, my 2H bar. Power of the Light, guys. Power of the Light is a very cheap stamina-based ability. It's going to sunder your target, which is a status effect that's going to debuff their armor. It's going to apply whatever the minor pin buff is, which is pretty cool. In case your tank's not running Puncture, in case they're running like Inner Fire with Breach for bossing or something. I don't know, something weird. I've seen a lot of weird tanks in here. It's going to help you come through with a little bit more pin for your team. Not only that, guys, it kind of accrues damage as it goes, but if you feel like you hit that damage threshold, you can actually recast this for a very cheap, I'm not going to call it a spammable, but you can weave it more frequently than 6 seconds. A lot of people put it up 6 seconds, let it fall off. If you're spamming your brawler, you've got all your dots up, and you feel that you've dropped like a Destro ulti, and you kind of, not necessarily, I don't want to say spam this, but like you could probably like weave brawler, Power of the Light, brawler, Power of the Light, and you'll be hitting that still 200% ramped because of how much damage that Destro is applying on top of all your dots. I don't know. I don't want to give that advice. If you don't know what I'm trying to say here, guys, if you don't know what I'm trying to articulate, just let it hit at 6 seconds, fall off, reapply. Don't try to do this weird stuff. But it's just a cheap way you can kind of negate stam costs. Brawler, guys, is our main source of survivability and our AoE spammable. So if you don't know what the Masters does, guys, the Masters is every enemy that we hit with our cleave is going to increase the damage of our cleave by roughly 1.5k. That adds up really quick in here, guys, because there's a lot of enemies. Basically doubling the damage of this ability and giving you a really fat damage shield, guys. I've had like 3 to 4 Netches proc on me at once, on top of like the meteor effect. This thing carries you through content. In terms of PvE DPS, like you can fail a lot of mechanics. I had Poison Bloom on me at one point. I didn't have Purge on my bar, and we were running 3 DPS. Nobody had Purge. Tank didn't have it. We were just expecting everybody to play well. I don't remember what happened. I got like hack winged into a Netch. Literally spamming the Brawler shield carried me through that damage over time. 10 out of 10. I swear by this. I hate it. Especially because back when I played on console, when I was trying to push Unchained, like the core group that I ran with were all Necros with Brawler. They're like, dude, just run Brawler. And I was a DK, and I was like, I just let me do my weird dual wield stuff. I'm not the problem. I'm not the one dying every run. Like, I don't need to run. Guys, just shut up and run Brawler. It carries you through. Blazing Spear. So this is a really good AoE, really good, well, it's not really good, it's a pretty average dot, but it's good because it gives your group a pretty good synergy for sustain. It procs, where is it, Burning Light at a reasonable enough rate, since we're not using jabs. And we have it front barred instead of back barred, because we have to have an Adric Spear ability slotted to get this 10% crit damage from our passive. It's kind of an easy way to do that, so that's why it's front barred. Next up, we have Radiant, guys. Now, I take the more before we get mag back, and that it heals us when we're executing. That way, even if our Brawler shield is down, we're going to still have a lot of healing per second incoming so that we don't get surprise bursted by niches or AoEs or unaggroed ads, because you got to be used to it, guys. In BLACKROSE, your tank, it doesn't matter how good they are. You could have an Unchained tank. You're still going to have stuff running around and hitting you from time to time. You got to keep your peepers peeled. You got to dodge roll stuff, and you got to be ready to out heal and shield up. So this just helps you stay ready at all times, even when you're trying to execute, burn something down. Big help. And lastly, on our front bar, Repentance. This is where all of our stamina sustain comes from. This is actually one of the big reasons I picked Templar for my first like DPS type character. If I was going like a DK in here, I'd probably want to run like Vicious Ophidian for that reduced cost and stand back per kill. This just does that as a class ability, which is super, super, super nice. It's also going to help our, and my Discord's popping off. It's also going to help our Magicka recovery, which is very important. Now, for the front bar ultimate, guys, we take Flawless Dawnbreaker. This is because it's going to give us 3% increased weapon spell damage. It's an alright ability. I personally prefer to use, if I'm actually like pressing my front bar ult, I prefer to use like Everlasting Sweep and just eat the 3% weapon spell. But up to you. Now let's go ahead and talk about back bar. Oh, if you do that, you can actually back bar. Like, you can swap. If you put Everlasting Sweep here, you can take that and swap this to your back bar, if that makes sense. That way, you now have the Piercing Spear passive on both bars instead of just your front bar. But anyways, there's a lot more that brings to the table. Having that, it's not just the 3%. It's the 3% whenever you activate your ultimate. If you use this one, you get that 300 weapon spell, which is pretty nice. You get the Banish the Wicked, which is just more ult gen, and then Dawnbreaker actually hits pretty good damage on like the vampire boss and stuff, so it's not a total waste. It does pretty good in trash on that arena. But again, I just personally, like, if you don't have Dawnbreaker, this is not a loss to use. This is still really, really, really good. It's a very cheap ultimate, and it pretty much has 100% uptime because of how cheap it is. And if you use it when you have like 4 or 5 ads there, you can get up to like 25 or 24 seconds on this thing before it runs off. Insane uptime, making it just free AoE damage, free cleave. Anyways, back bar. I put that on the wrong bar. Whoopsies. Back bar. Go ahead and slot that back. Trap Beast. This is giving us all those passives which you talked about in the Fighters Guild. Plus, this is our 10% crit damage buff from Minor Force. Pretty good dot. It can proc Hemorrhaging, which is the bleed status effect, which is just more bleed damage. I did not mean to bump that. I'm sorry. We take the Splash Vigor, guys. This is so we can heal our teammates in case they're in danger, because not all of our teammates choose to use a stupid damage shield that is like 10 times their health pool. Also, I just like... We don't ever need that big burst heal from the Green Vigor, and I like having this up for 16 seconds after I press the button, and it's just so cheap and it's so easy. Blockade of Frost, guys. Now, this is the reason I take an Ice Staff. Well, partially the reason. Partially, I just didn't have a Lightning. I would take a Lightning if I did, for the off balance. But, the damage shield this provides. You get a almost 7k damage shield every time you recast. That's the right button. Every time you recast Wall of Elements. So, pretty much every time there's a new ad pool, guys, you're going to be running over to a spawn. Say that creates the spawn, you're going to drop your Wall of Elements. Not only are you doing your pre-damage, right? You're throwing up the shield for yourself and all your teammates. It's going to cut down on the amount of deaths you have from like everything spawning in and hitting one person before the tank can aggro. Because the range will do that. Like the cold mages on the third arena, the vampire arena, that spawn, there's a wave where you get 3 cold mages. I tell everybody in my team to block during that. Just because I've seen it one-shot so many people if they all aggro to the same person. And it happens more than it should. So, just stuff like that. This helps out with a lot. I think this... Somebody told me this doesn't apply to the Netches. I'm not sure. Because I feel like it did, but I'd have to go back and review footage. I think the Netches just break it. But I think it... Because the Netches hit for like 8 to 12k. I think this takes half the damage away, but I'm not 100% sure. So, anyways, and then it's gonna do some cool stuff. So, minor breach and whatever on shield enemies. Solar Barrage, guys. This is our empower source. It's gonna increase our class ability damage. So, like your spears and your radiant and your power of the light by 5%, which is pretty nice. It lasts a very long time. It's pretty cheap mag cost wise. And again, Empower is pretty nice to have, really good uptime. And then Channeled Focus, this is going to help us with our mag sustain, because the Radiant Glory, while it's really good and it gives a lot of mag back, it's not enough to let you spam it the entire execute. I find this is kind of a necessary evil. It gives us a little bit of healing. Again, wrong button. 1.6k a second to 2.7 if it crits. Pretty good healing if you're standing in it. Even if you're not, it's still like a 5k or 500, not 5k. I wish. So it's something. Now, if you do want to slot your Purify, just because you're new or you want to help out your team a little more, Solar Barrage is probably the least necessity kind of thing, the least harmful thing to lose, and you're actually going to be putting out a lot more heal per second, as well as group heal and group utility. I mean, look at that right there. That's pretty good healing for one person that's a DPS. But your DPS will go down. This is actually what I had on my bar, I think, at the time when we cleared it. I wasn't expecting to clear it, but we got it done, surprisingly. It was like alt run. It was an alt run. I was on my DPS. I'm used to tanking that. I usually tank when we do our runs. It was an alt run. I was on a DPS, and we had people on characters they haven't played in quite some time. So it was odd, but of course that's the run that we get it on. I didn't even record it. I wasn't expecting it to go through. But yeah, so that's what I would switch out if you're switching something out for that. Teammates will probably thank you for it, but they might talk a little crap when you drop your DPS like 3%, 4%. And then lastly, guys, the ultimate. Now, I take the Destro ult here. If you don't have the Destro ult, or you don't feel like you need it, and you just want to put something up for a little more trash damage, keep the Dawnbreaker front bar. Go with the Everlasting Sweep back bar, and then just kind of pop this one on cooldown. Or you can even, one of the things you can do is, because this 20 seconds lasts forever, you can hit this, get that 300% weapon buff, or not 300%, I wish, that 300 weapon buff, and then hit this when you get another 70 ult or whatever, and you'll have a Dawnbreaker buffed Everlasting Sweep. You hit enough ads with that, that'll last until you get another Dawnbreaker, and then you can just, it's a vicious little cycle. You just keep rotating those, and you'll have really good uptime on this, and they'll be buffed by this. So, cool little tip for you there. But again, guys, I highly recommend, I can't stress it enough, Elemental Storm. When stuff needs to die, whether you're trying to skip mechanics on like round 3, the vampire boss, you're trying to skip that Colossus double infuser, Destro Bolt's going to carry you through that. I put that on the wrong bar, didn't I? If you're trying to burn tames on like round 4 or arena 4, you're trying to burn tames to just get Haji out of the way, it's fine. This does the job better than any other ult because of how quick it does that level of damage. I won't really talk about passives too much. I'll just kind of show you guys what I have. I have everything in Adric, everything in Dawn's Wrath. Although you can live, if you're hurting for skill points like I am, so you guys can see, you don't have to put in a Daring Raise. You'll just have to refresh your Solar Barrage. But if you're not even using Solar Barrage because you're using the Purify, you have like no benefit from this at all. In this one, if you're using the big extended ritual, I do recommend you throw up 2 into Lightweaver and probably 2 into Mending. But I just take 2 in Sacred. We weren't planning for any deaths, so I don't have any in here. If you're expecting deaths, guys, obviously put Master Ritualist in. That'll help you get that out. And there's even something else you can do. You can stack Spirit Mastery on top of that, and that'll help out too. And I'll talk to you guys about my CP in a second. I don't have that much of it, but I'll show you guys what I ran for it. I take most of the two-handed passives. I take Battle Rush. This isn't really needed because Repentance is that good. Repentance is just him for your skills. So you don't need Battle Rush. You can take those out, but I just kind of like to have it for the last boss because that phase sucks. There's nothing to repent, so you have to manage stamina a little bit more in there. But if you get through there quick enough, like we had 35 minutes left on our run, or we had 35 minutes on our run, so we had like 4 minutes and some change left before we were in danger of the speed run. Get through there clean, quick, with no death, you should be fine. Like our damage wasn't even that high in that run. But anyways, Destro Staff, I take everything other than Trifocus because Mag is precious. It's very important for executes. In most of these fights, execute is the most important thing. You don't want to have to block a bug bomb and then not have any magic. So don't take Trifocus if you have an Ice Staff. If you're using a Lightning or Inferno, definitely take Trifocus. It's totally worth it. We don't have Light. We're in 7/7. Or 7 medium, so we just take the medium passives. This kind of helps us cut down on skill points as well. I don't have any world passives. We take almost all of the Fighters Guild passives, take all the Undaunted passives, and then take your Rage Tools. Now, I was ignored when I did this, guys. That's kind of throwing. I just had extra ult gen. It was like the only thing I had going for me. I would recommend being like an orc in here. It'll give you a little bit more healing, a little bit more weapon spell, a little bit more stam, a little bit more health. It's probably the best thing. Dark Elf is really good. Really any race, any of the damaging races, anything that's going to help your sustain. Imperial would be pretty sick as well for the cost reduction. Anything works. Nord is just, this guy is my tank. I'm doing a tank part. That's what his main role is, but I just happen to get Unchained on the deeps. So, yeah. Anyways, GG's, guys. Let's go ahead and show you the CP real quick, and then we'll get up out of here. It's a 23-minute build video. That's terrible. I need to talk faster and less. So, most importantly, guys, I'll show you the most important passive. It's called Preparation. It's going to give you 10% damage mitigation towards all PPE. You have to have this. You're throwing if you don't have this. Super important for there. It's going to cut down on the amount of times you die to stupid surprise DPS that you don't need to take. Like when you drop a wall of Ellie and you get triple or quadruple netched, your team is going to want to kick you from the group if you're trying for Unchained. That's going to help you not have that happen. So will Brawler, so will the Ice Staff. But anyways, so that's in this tree. Now I recommend the path you take if you're lacking on CP like I am. The path you take Eldritch Insight. It's going to give you a little bit more mag. It's kind of irrelevant. But 10 into here, just to barely get that first tick to unlock this. Put the rest, all 20, in Preparation. That is the first thing you should do. The next thing you want to do, the next thing I think that is the most important for a Unchained, if you're going for no death, that's the most important thing in there, is this, the active CP skill point star, whatever you want to call it. This was one of the ones that goes on your bar. From the brink. Whenever you heal an ally under 25% health, you're going to grant them a damage shield for 11,000 damage absorption. Can occur every 30 seconds per target. This thing right here, guys, well, if we keep 100% uptime on that Vigor, you keep good uptime on that AoE healing thing. I don't know what the heck it's called. The ritual, the big purify. Somebody's gonna get netched. They're gonna be like 700 health, and you're gonna save them from the next netch. Say that 10 times fast. The next netch that hits them, this is gonna eat that, and you're gonna save their life, and then they're gonna get healed up really quick because everybody's gonna be panicking. But this saves people from really stupid, unfortunate, random situations, and I highly recommend that. So, anyways, and then lastly, I took these two just to get that crit damage up a little bit more. I will be dumping the remainder of my points into precision just to try to get a little more crit because we are struggling on the crit. Red tree is probably the next most important. The first thing I do, put 15 into tumbling, and then I take expert evasion. This is going to help with your sustain while just trying to live in here, right? Like, you're going to dodge roll some things. Like I said, the tank, doesn't matter if you have the best tank in the world, stuff is going to come out of portals, aggro to random people. You might need to dodge that. You might need to, like, some people block the Hajimoto. I don't ever recommend blocking Hajimoto when he does his shockwave, the shotgun some people call it, or his little bog burst where he goes through the ground in like tunnels. Don't block those. I dodge roll that every time because if you block it, it's still going to do a lot of damage, and then you run the risk of getting netched right after or some other stupid mechanic. Just trust me, roll it. You'll be much safer, and this is going to help you out with that. Defiance just cuts down the CC cost reduction. It's nice. But the most important thing is it unlocks Slippery for you. Slippery is insanely clutch in here. The hack wings are going to CC you so much you're going to hate the little pterodactyls in here. You're going to get trauma when you watch Jurassic Park. It's terrible. Slippery is going to cut down on that. Every 21 seconds, you're going to get a free CC break. It's going to help your stand management. It's going to help save your life because it's faster than you are at CC breaking and whatever else. And then next, guys, you're going to creep on over here. You're just going to get the bare minimum in here to start unlocking this tree. And this is going to be very important for your sustain. I take Hero's Vigor. It's just a little bit of max health, but it's going to unlock siphoning spells. So whenever you kill something, you're going to get a little bit of mag back. You can also take the Bloody Renewal. It's going to give you a little bit of stand back. And yeah. But anyways, what I was trying to say earlier, guys, if you're expecting a lot of deaths, I will not judge you if instead of running the sets that I recommended, instead of Solzon's Torment, like I talked about, and instead of Pillar of Nirn, you could swap out. You still want to keep the Solzon's Torment because that's just clutch. That set does too much. But you could swap out the Pillar of Nirn, and you can go like Kagranak's Hope or something. And then you run Spirit Mastery, and then you get the Templar passive. You're getting people up like that. So even if your teammates are terrible at mechanics, you can revive somebody and get them stacked in Bug Bomb in no time at all. You'll be chilling. And that's really it for these. These are the only two trees that really matter. I'll show you guys my tree over here just for the sake of like roundness and CP, but we're almost at 30 minutes. I'm going to have to cut this off in a second. Soul Reservoir, if you're progging this, that's going to save you a lot of soul gems. This is not important at all. This is just like the starting point. Wanderer, not important at all. Steadfast Enchantment. This is important. It's going to help your quality of life with your enchant management. You don't have to recharge so much. This is going to help you not have to eat food so much, just in general gameplay. And then I recommend this one as well when you use potions or poisons. I don't know if poisons are still good in PvE. I never seen anybody use them. I don't know if it's because they're inconvenient and expensive and enchants got buffed or what, but if you do use poisons, this is actually going to potentially not use all your poisons. So it's cool. I highly recommend getting this if you have enough CP, but like I'm still not there yet. 507, I think. So, anyways, that's everything I got for you guys. I hope this helps you guys get some Unchains. You're gonna have to find some groups that work with you guys. This is not the highest damage output build. People need to understand that. You don't go into BLACKROSE expecting to parse. You go into BLACKROSE to survive. Everybody, I guarantee you, if your team runs a build similar to this, and I'll put in the description a link to the one of those websites, like a build website. I'll go make some builds after this, and I'll link them all down there for each class, how I would set this up to go in here. But if everybody runs a brawler setup in here, I don't think anybody will have any issues. You can come through here at like 60, 70k DPS, guys. You don't need to be a big pumper. You don't need to be skipping every mechanic. Just do the mechanics. Keep your damage shields up so that nobody's getting absolutely destroyed by netches out here. Make sure you guys are keeping your vigors on the tank, or whatever big heals you got for them. Keep that on the tank, and you'll be good. You guys, I think a lot of people can actually get through this content if you just learn the mechanics. These builds will carry. These builds will get it done. It's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be the fastest. But again, as long as you guys get through here with no death, I think everybody running about 70k DPS or more with one of these builds will succeed. You guys should be able to prog this in like a week or two. I mean, I'm not trying to devalue Unchained, but work smarter, guys, not harder, right? That's what I always say. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to put out informational builds, guys. I am not the most exceptional player, but people like to play with me because I have a lot of game knowledge, and I try not to die too much. And, you know, dead DPS is no DPS. A lot of people are willing to work with me, even though I am low CP. Just do mechanics, don't die. Anyways, GG's, guys. Take it easy. I hope this helps some people out.